Three, two, one. Hello, my name is the Phantom of Many Topics on YouTube, and today we're going to talk about two new science fiction shows. One is called The Orville, and the other is called Star Trek Discovery. First off, The Orville is by Seth MacFarlane, who also produces The Family Guy. He has said that he is a lifetime Star Trek fan who wanted to do a science fiction show kind of modeled on Star Trek, but more lighthearted. I definitely think that he has accomplished that goal. It very much reminds me of the movie Galaxy Quest released earlier this century. The Orville takes place in a planetary union instead of a federation, and it's very lighthearted. By contrast, Star Trek Discovery it's supposed to be primed, but truly it is a re-imaged version of Star Trek, but it's a lot more dark, and it's almost a horror show in some cases. That being said, it's a very serious show. You have a few lighthearted people added, like Cadet Sylvia Tilly, but by and large, it's a much more serious show than The Orville. The Orville tends to be more of a democratic and ensemble cast. The episodes tend to feature different crew members. Very early on, you get to know every crew member, and like I said, again, they get their own episodes as time goes along. By contrast, the Discovery is very centered around one character, and that would be the female named Michael Burnham, who is supposedly the adopted daughter of Sarek, who was the father of Spock. So I guess they would be adopted brothers and sisters. I say this show is reimaged for several reasons. One of them is because she never appears again in later Star Trek. Another reason is due to the fact that the Klingons look vastly different than any of the other Klingons we have seen in the previous shows. And then the third one is that the technology of Discovery, I think, is far too advanced to be in the era of 10 years before the original series. I'm talking about specifically the spore drive. So I tend to think of it as a re-imaged show, even though the producers have insisted that it's prime and that in the future they will fix all the continuity errors. I don't mind it being re-imaged. I just don't want to be told that it's prime when it doesn't appear to be prime. Okay. Anyways, getting back to the Orville, I like the fact that the Orville doesn't take Star Trek so seriously. I really enjoyed Galaxy Quest. That was very, very funny to me, and the Orville kind of reminds me of that. It's more serious than many people thought. I guess they thought that it was just going to be basically Family Guy in space. And it turns out to be, you have some episodes like the one where Bordis and his spouse have a child, and then they are forced to get a gender reassignment because there is only one gender in that society, and the child was born as a different gender and was considered a defect. And that was a very serious episode. There are other serious episodes such as The Krill, and they basically beheaded a human, and they were using it as part of their religious ceremony. So that's not all comedic. But by and large, the Orville is a funny show. By comparison, Star Trek Discovery is a very dark show, literally dark, because the captain, Lorca, has a seeing problem, so he can't be exposed to bright lights for reasons explained. So the lighting is very dim in comparison on Discovery. Also, Discovery does try to go light a little bit in terms of being comedic. They've introduced a very funny character. Her name is Cadet Sylvia Tilly, and she's kind of the cosmic relief. She's also a very deep contrast with the star of the show, Michael Burnham, who is the focus of the show. Unlike the Orville, on Discovery, Michael Burnham is the focus. In episodes 1 and 2, she is on a completely different ship. At the episode 2, the second ship is basically destroyed, and she's transferred onto the Discovery by episode 3. So the first 2 episodes was just a setup for her character. And you're not even introduced to the rest of the crew until episode 3. Episode 3, you are introduced to her captain, Lorca. You do see Lieutenant Saru again, and it goes from there. She is assimilated basically into the Discovery crew, beginning with episode 3. And I don't mean Borg assimilated, I mean just like naturally. Just she goes with the flow. But anyways, I tend to like the ensemble cast format more. I believe in spreading the wealth. On Discovery, there are several characters. There's like a human cyborg named Iram. There's an Asian Lieutenant Reese. There is another African American female. Her name is Owasukan, I think. I don't know how to pronounce her name. And there is Lieutenant Detmer, who has the 7 of 9 thing on her eyes. And I don't really know what that's about. And we don't know anything about these other minor characters on the bridge. And these are all bridge crew members. We only know a few characters. We also know Ash Tyler and again Cadet Tilly. But one thing I do like about the Discovery over the Orville is that on a starship, the bridge should have that many people on it. It shouldn't just have like 3, 4, or 5 people. I guess in Orville there's some people on the bridge that are in the background that you really don't get any notice. One other thing is that in previous Star Trek shows, such as Star Trek, the original series, you had Mr. Sulu. In Voyager, you had Harry Kim. Now, these Asians were part of the main crew, and they got a lot of airtime. In the new show, or in the new shows, both the Orville and Discovery, you don't have a major Asian character. Now, why do I say this is important? Because the population of planet Earth is 40% Asian. So I think that if you were talking about representing the population of the United States, yeah, okay, sure, Asians are only 4.5% of the population. So they should only get minor character roles. But if we're going to do this diversity thing with Michael Burnham, then shouldn't we Asians get a fair share of our people too? So that's my thought on diversity. Also, I don't see any Hispanic characters. The Latin America world is huge, too, right? So, anyways, that's my thought on the diversity part of it. Next, I want to talk about the aliens. The main nemesis in Orville is called the Krill. They kind of look like the Jem'Hadar from DS9 in physical looks. In some ways, they act like fanatical religious. In some cases, you might say terrorists. They do not feel that other sentient species are worthy. Only their race is worthy, and they believe that their god, coincidentally called Avis, which sounds like a rental car company, but anyways, their entire society is based upon spreading their seed across the galaxy, regardless of what other sentient species are around. In Star Trek Discovery, I feel that they basically re-imaged the Klingons. The Klingons originally were all about honor. The Klingons in the new Discovery show is talking about purity of culture. Honor is kind of a secondary thing. Michael Burnham and the Commander Cole do talk about it in episode 9 or 10. Or, sorry, it was episode 9, Into the Forest. And Commander Cole says, "What do you know about honor?" So, but mainly their focus is now purity. So that's why I think, how do I feel about the Klingons being re-imaged? I understand why they had to do it. Okay, they said that because of the contractual split. See, Viacom used to own both CBS and Paramount, and then I guess they're splitting apart as a company, and the CBS side and the Paramount side are going their different ways. The Paramount side owns the original look of the Klingons, like the Worf look, or even the TOS look of the Klingons. So the CBS had to come up with their own look for the Klingons. One of the mistakes, I think, is that this Discovery show is set in the past. And I think it would have been more interesting if it was set after Voyager, after TNG, after DS9, because that way they're not shackled or limited by the way they do things. Now, they wouldn't be shackled if they had said, "Oh, this is a reimaging like Battlestar Galactica." It's basically it's kind of like an alternate universe, so the things don't have to be the same. No, but instead, the CBS producers keep insisting that this reimaged universe is actually the prime universe, which Captain Kirk and Captain Picard that we know come from. And that's just completely ridiculous, in my opinion. First, because of the Klingons, and also because, the Discovery and the Spore Drive and everything we see is so much more advanced than we've seen in TOS or even TNG. So I don't think that they made the right decision when they said that this is prime, because that's like, you're looking at a TV show. Let's say if there was a TV show that said, "Oh, Thomas Jefferson was the first president of the United States of America," and you're saying that we share that timeline? No, because George Washington was our first president. So, I mean, just by looking at it, you can tell that it's not prime. A lot of Star Trek fans on the chat rooms try to debate this with me, but I am correct. They are wrong. Anyways, okay, so moving on. My thoughts about where both shows will lead. Okay, so we have two episodes left of the Orville, and then right now, Star Trek Discovery is on hiatus after episode 9. So I'm hoping that the Orville episode does a cliffhanger. Originally, I thought that the Orville episode 12 will be about the Krill, but it doesn't appear that way. It appears that the episode is going to be more focused on Ed and Kelly, the commander and the first officer, getting back their relationship, their husband and ex-wife. As far as Discovery is concerned, they jumped into a weird um, universe, maybe? I don't know. Basically, they're in like some sort of junkyard in space, I guess, and they may actually be in an alternate universe now. So, there are some theories as to Captain Lorca that people say he is probably from an alternate universe, not necessarily the mirror universe, as some people say, but an alternate universe, and he's trying to get back home, and that is his intention. Also, um, they also say that Lieutenant Ash might be a Klingon spy, kind of like the way that he was turned while he was being tortured and captured by the Klingons, and now he's been brainwashed into being a Klingon spy, kind of like in the Showtime TV series Homeland that starred Claire Danes. If you remember, in the first 3 seasons, there was that red-headed guy who was captured by the Islamic terrorists and then possibly converted. So that's a possibility. Because there's this mystery about who Vok is, and maybe Vok is Ash or something like that. It's possible, I guess, but I don't think that they're going to go down that line because of the fact that they're developing this love relationship between Burnham and Lieutenant Ash. So, anyways, that's where we are currently. I am very thankful that we do have both shows. Um, I'm not sure I approve of CBS putting this onto a pay-per-view situation. Um, I think Star Trek should be shared on the regular network. I understand that due to the subscription fees, maybe that they had a higher budget. That was one of the arguments, was that, oh, this would be a very low budget show if it was just ran on the regular network. Because of all the subscription fees, they had more money to spend on Discovery. Orville obviously operates on a much lower budget, than Discovery. But it's not about necessarily the quality of the technical stuff that we see in the background. Obviously, the Discovery is a much more complicated ship than the Orville. The Orville is not the ship of the line, whereas the Discovery definitely is their ship of the line. And Discovery is supposedly staffed by the best, whereas the Orville is kind of like staffed, by your minor leaguers. So, but either way, as for my choice between the Orville or Discovery, I like them both, but one commentator on one of the chat rooms said something like, if you can't decide between the two, and so look at it this way. If one of the two shows had to be canceled, which show would you cancel and which show would you keep? And that's the show you like better. And I guess I would have to say my loyalty belongs to the Orville. And that's because I find the characters there more relatable. than the star of the Discovery, which is Michael Burnham. But if Discovery were to be canceled before that, I would have the Orville send in a special teams crew to go save Cadet Sylvia Tilly, and that way she is saved at least. Anyways, this video has now been over 20 minutes. I hope that you have sincerely enjoyed my comments and opinions. I have been making some other videos, and I will frequently be making videos for the fan groups in the coming days. Thank you very much for listening. My name is Phantom of Many Topics on YouTube. Whether you like me or not, please hit subscribe. Thank you. Bye-bye.